Welcome back. Next to our climate series, Saving Tomorrow. We recently traveled to Tongass National Forest in Alaska to learn more about a debate that could have implications for us all. Scientists say older trees, like the ones found in the Tongass, are critical in the battle to contain greenhouse gases, but they are valuable for loggers. So we wanted to know, can you protect the planet and at the same time boost an economy that relies on so many of its resources? It's been a decades-long struggle in the communities we visited in Southeast Alaska.
If you listen closely, you can hear just how alive this land is. Living, breathing, teeming with life.
Even the pine needles it has is full of life.
The Tongass is known as the crown jewel of American forests, sprawling across 17 million acres of land, covering more than 80% of Southeast Alaska. Its vast and rugged terrain is home to the bald eagle, brown bear, and 5 species of salmon.
There are so many reasons to protect this forest.
This lush and dense land, the world's largest intact temperate rainforest, is a critical refuge for its vibrant ecosystem. It's also critical to the planet, as it's responsible for removing nearly 8% of the country's carbon emissions. That's why some call the Tongass the lungs of America, and many who care about it are collectively holding their breath.
It's not technologically difficult.
Global leaders have pledged to end deforestation by 2030, but for decades in Southeast Alaska, they've seen how environmental commitments can change simply by virtue of the person living in the White House.
Where's your Amazon box is going to come from? American consumers still wants this stuff. We're producing it here. It's a good job for the U.S. people, good jobs for Alaskans.
Conservation advocates accuse loggers of not being able to see the forest for the trees. This region is struggling, in part due to the pandemic, which led to far fewer tourists the past 2 summers, which dealt a major blow to the local economy.
How do you raise a family on $15 an hour for a 5-month job? That's tourism. How do I do that? I can't do that. My kids can't do that.
Logger Eric Nichols says he can return some good-paying jobs to the community if he's allowed to gain more access to the Tongass for his company.
Look at this. This is wild. We depend on this wildness as indigenous people.
A Tlingit native, Wanda grew up on this land, where her tribe has deep ties to this Alaskan forest.
The wood products that these trees provide us, we don't just cut it down and let it land. We create a spot for it to land so it doesn't split, so it's worthwhile. That isn't what happens with clear cuts. It's total disrespect.
She's hell-bent on preventing more trees from being cut down inside the Tongass. She's even gone all the way to Washington, D.C. to fight for the tree's preservation. The Tongass was ground zero for massive clear-cutting in the late 1900s, resulting in about 1 million acres of the ancient forest being chopped down, and it still has the scars to prove it. Majestic forest reduced to splintered woods in some areas in an effort to feed the American consumer's ravenous appetite for wood.
It's a crop. It grows back. If you don't want a farmer to cut his corn down, don't eat corn.
In 2001, loggers had their financial legs cut out from right under them when President Bill Clinton, in his final days in office, enacted the roadless rule.
Preserving roadless areas puts America on the right road for the future.
President Bush, then Obama, then Trump, and now Biden have all tried to reverse their predecessor's decision. The rule prevents road construction as well as timber harvesting on more than 9 million acres in the Tongass National Forest. This map shows that protected land. And this map shows how much of the Tongass could have been opened up under the previous administration. At this time, the roadless rule remains in place for now.
We're the largest state in the country by far. This forest is larger than most states. There's incredible opportunity to provide lumber and lumber products for the United States and possibly other parts of the world. This is an opportunity for us to do it here again and provide jobs, revenue, and wealth.
The governor points to the missed economic opportunities in the state. Between wood and minerals, there could be billions in untapped natural wealth in Alaska accessible by road. But many scientists say we can't afford to sacrifice the health of the planet anymore for economic growth, especially in places like these so-called carbon sinks. In fact, 111 scientists from across the country wrote a letter to President Biden asking him to take the roadless rule one step further and permanently install protections and create a strategic carbon reserve system.
Is this how our story is due to end? A tale of the smartest species doomed by that all-too-human characteristic of failing to see the bigger picture in pursuit of short-term goals.
In Glasgow, there was a declaration that forests like these are among nature's best tools to combat emissions.
Why do we need carbon sink? Why is it so important?
With climate change, we have more CO2 in the atmosphere. These old forests, they're able to store carbon, so it's not in the atmosphere, so it's not contributing to warming and to climate change. They're helping mitigate the effects of climate change.
So it's a scientific fact, non-negotiable, that the old growth actually does absorb more carbon.
Old growth forests, yeah.
Meredith Traynor, a conservationist, says the older the tree, the more effective it is at removing carbon dioxide.
There is no one tree scenario where we're going to solve climate change, right? This is about managing a whole forest a certain way. It's the whole system that works together to sequester carbon, and old growth is much more effective at doing that than young growth forests.
It's always interesting when you get people really out to the woods and try to understand what they want to preserve.
The Tongass is the last national forest that still allows large-scale clear-cut logging of ancient old-growth trees. And leaders in the timber industry say that's not a problem because they call trees a renewable resource.
I mean, it's a renewable resource. We cut trees down because there's a demand for that product.
The timber industry is only allowed to work in 2% of the Tongass.
2%, that's all we can harvest on. So how much do we need? Do we need 100%?
How much do you want?
I want enough to have an industry. We need about 5, maybe 6% to continue, have a continuous industry up here.
A number that could give them access to up to an additional 500,000 acres.
But some people will argue, though, that timber is an old relic, really, that it's been replaced by tourism. And not only do you guys rely now on tourism, but also the salmon fishing, and that when you cut the trees here, that impacts the wildlife, that diminishes the number of salmon.
We don't believe that.
But scientists disagree. They say the whole system is connected, something fishermen here know firsthand. Commercial fishing is one of the largest employment sectors in southeast Alaska. In Sitka, an island town of about 8,000 known as a mecca for salmon fisheries, we met Marsh Skeel.
Logging in Tongass puts my industry, my company, and all of our fishermen's livelihoods at risk. The damages streams and lakes, freshwater ecosystems that salmon rely on, that fishermen rely on, that this community relies on. They're kind of ignoring all the jobs that are tied to what exists already.
But the governor says he's fighting for the future of Alaska as a whole.
There's this narrative that's trying to be pushed that if you touch Alaska, you will damage it permanently and ruin it. That's not the case.
Do you feel that there's a responsibility here with regard to the Tongass?
There's a global responsibility.
That includes the Tongass.
Well, if you want to continue to live in a wood house and use paper towels and cardboard boxes, where would you rather have that material come from?
Loggers in this area say it could help the people here more than it could harm the environment.
Are you concerned at all about climate change?
No.
Not concerned about the planet, global warming?
No.
This tug of war between the environment and the economy is both personal as well as far-reaching here.
How concerned are you about global warming and climate change?
We are in a serious, serious crisis. Why can't we start repairing our habitat and protect what we have? I want my great-granddaughter to be able to walk this land and breathe this fresh air, touch these trees, know who they are. It's not much to ask.
Our thanks to everyone we met in Alaska who took the time to share their viewpoints with us.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.